The Birthday Party were an Australian post-punk band. Existed from 1977 to 1983. Sometimes they were based in London, and they were originally called the Boys Next Door. They were fronted by Nick Cave, who later on went on to be Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. In fact, after the band disbanded, several of them went on to have successful careers elsewhere, some of them with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. They released 4 albums, although only the last 2 were fully under the Birthday Party name. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of Junkyard by the Birthday Party, which was released in 1982 and was their second or fourth album, depending on whether you do it from how many albums they did as a band or how many albums they did under the name The Birthday Party. It's the final album, anyway. And it's my first time listening to it. I think my first experience with them. So my process is that I listen and read, then listen. And so I get 2 listens. I get one where it's as blind as I can possibly make it, depending on how much I already know about a band or an act or an album. And then I get myself some context, and then I do an in-context listen. And I'm forever mentioning this because often there's something that happens in that process that I find that's interesting. In this case, it was when I had my first listen, and I had forgotten that the Birthday Party were a band that were fronted by Nick Cave. I was thinking, this kind of reminds me of it feels like it would be Nick Cave if he kind of picked out all the musicality and went very noise. And of course, I was right. It is Nick Cave who's singing here, although singing is not the best word for this, I think. So I'm going to describe this as being Junkyard, and it's called Junkyard, but I think Junkyard's a really good word to use here. Post-punk garage noise, and it's very noisy and it's very scratchy. Now, apparently, they wanted this record to quote sound like trash, a scratchy, trebly sound. They've achieved that. It's very much got that scratchy sound to it. It's lo-fi, it's garagey in that it feels like it's been played live and it's got an energetic feel. There's lots of noise and discordance, especially in the guitar. The guitar is very abrasive at times. And generally the whole thing is abrasive and aggressive, but not metal. It's too empty to be metal. There's one of the critics who was talking about it, described it as the heaviest album ever. I think he thinks of heaviness as being a different thing to what I think of it as being, but fine, no matter. So we've got this music kind of abrasive, noisy, discordant often stuff, and then growling and screaming from Nick Cave. Occasionally things that you might call singing, but mostly it's not. And the songs are about various dark things. So when I say dark, I think even for Nick Cave, this is dark. So the thought that Nick Cave mellowed over time is an interesting one. So the first track's about a car crash. There's unhappy sex stuff. There's difficult religious content described by some as being blasphemous. There's murder. And there's also the line custard bones in there, which just jumped at me both times I listened to it. Maybe I misheard that. What are custard bones? I have no idea. So seeing them live was probably quite an extreme experience if they were like this. Reading about them made me more open to them than before I read to them. My first listen, I was very kind of dismissive in my head about them. Still not a huge fan, I would say. Excuse me. Is deliberately like having your eardrums sandpapered. So I get that this will attract some people, particularly who are into their raw and extreme and noisy stuff. So, if you like Sonic Youth and stuff like that, then this is probably pushing that even further than some things like that. So it might really appeal to you. I think for a lot of listeners, this is too much. And for me, it was kind of verging on too much. And I don't think that I'm a superior listener just because I've listened to lots of different styles of music. It doesn't make me a better person. It just maybe means that I'm starting to get more context for some of these listens. Anyway, I found it difficult listening, particularly sonically. Thematically, it was not easy either, but I didn't find that quite as much of a problem as the sonic aspects of it. So there we are. Not a huge fan, but as always, I'd love to know what you think of this album. So please let me know by leaving me a comment. I know there will be people out there for whom my lack of enthusiasm is something that they think I'm a philistine for, or uncultured because I don't like this scratchy, noisy sound. Fine, let me know. Please talk to me about what you think. What you think the qualities are here. If you think I'm missing something, then please let me know. I'd love to know. But that's it from me for now.